Tae-ho Kim walked through the metal halls of Harmony Prime Station. His black diplomatic uniform felt heavy under the strange lights. This was the biggest day in human history. First contact with the Galactic Council. He should have felt excited, but something was wrong. The halls were empty. When his ship had docked 2 hours ago, thousands of aliens had been walking around the station. Now he saw nobody. His footsteps echoed in the silence. Even the cleaning robots had stopped working. Behind him, Soonja Park carried her data pad with careful hands. She was Earth's best expert on alien cultures. For years, she had studied every signal that came from space. She knew 12 different alien languages, but she had never seen anything like this. "Where is everyone?" she asked in Korean. Byung-wook Lee touched his earpiece. The security chief looked uncomfortable. "The station shows over 50,000 life forms on board, but they are all hiding in their rooms." They reached the main meeting hall. The doors were made of some kind of blue crystal that hummed with energy. 2 guards stood outside. When they saw the humans coming, one guard made a high whistling sound. Both guards stepped back so fast that one almost fell down. "We are the human delegation," Tae-ho said in perfect galactic standard. "We have an appointment with the council." The taller guard had 6 arms and skin like tree bark. His voice shook when he spoke. "Please wait. We must prepare the room." The door closed. Soonja could hear many voices talking fast inside. Some sounded scared, others sounded angry. "They are afraid of us," she said. "But why?" Through her data pad, Soonja had intercepted hundreds of alien communications over the past week. The messages painted a picture that made no sense. The aliens called humans Death Worlders and the Violent Ones. They said Earth was a nightmare planet where everything tried to kill everything else. One message had said, "They fight wars that last for years over ideas, not for food or land, just ideas." Another had said, "Their home world has storms that can destroy cities. They live there by choice." But the most common message was simpler. "They enjoy fighting. They make games about war." The crystal doors opened again. This time a group of aliens came out. Tae-ho recognized them from his briefing files. The Vorthan delegate looked like a giant insect with blue shell armor. The Nerid representative moved inside a water-filled suit. 3 other species stood behind them. "Welcome to Harmony Prime," the Vorthan said, but he stayed far away from the humans. "I am Council Singer Hickston. We have prepared a special meeting room for your kind." They walked down another hall. This one had thick metal walls and no windows. Soonja noticed the floor had strange marks on it, like claw marks or burn damage. "This is the secure conference room," Hickston said. "We use it for dangerous negotiations." The room inside was built like a bunker. Heavy metal chairs sat around a table made of some kind of black stone. The walls had scorch marks. One wall had what looked like bullet holes. "Previous negotiations got violent?" Byung-wook asked. "Only when the Skarav were involved," Hickston said quickly. "They are warriors, very aggressive. Like..." He looked at the humans and did not finish. Soonja sat down carefully. The chair was built for someone much larger than her. "We brought gifts from Earth," she said. "Cultural items to share." She opened her bag and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside were photos of Earth, pictures of cities, forests, and oceans. Normal things that humans saw every day. The aliens crowded around to look. Their reactions were not what she expected. "The settlements are so close to the forests," one alien whispered. "How do they survive the predators?" "Look at this ocean," another said. "The waves are huge. Nothing could live near that water." Soonja picked up a photo of a beach in Korea. Children were playing in the sand while their parents watched. The waves in the background were maybe 2 meters high. "Normal beach waves. This is Busan Beach," she said. "Families go there for vacation." The alien stared at her. The Nerid delegate made a bubbling sound in his water suit. "They take their young ones to the violent waters for pleasure." "It's just swimming," Soonja said. but she was starting to understand. These aliens came from safe worlds, calm worlds. They had never seen a planet like Earth. Tejo pulled out another photo. This one showed a mountain hiking trail. People with backpacks were walking up a rocky path. Behind them, storm clouds gathered over tall peaks. Mountain climbing is a popular hobby on Earth, he said. They climbed toward the storm clouds, Hickston said. His voice was full of horror. For entertainment. Byung-wook laughed. He could not help it. You should see what we do in winter. We slide down mountains on pieces of wood. We call it skiing. The why? Aliens took several steps back. Soonja tried a different approach. She showed them a photo of a school playground. Children were playing on swings and slides. It looked peaceful and normal. These are human children at play, she said. The aliens examined the photo closely. Finally, a small purple alien pointed at the playground equipment. They train their young for combat, it said. Look at this device. It teaches them to grab moving objects while suspended in air, and this structure forces them to climb high distances. Very good military training. Those are toys, Soonja said. For fun. Combat training disguised as entertainment, the alien said wisely. Clever. No wonder they become such effective warriors. Tejo realized they were not going to win this argument. Everything humans did looked like military training to these aliens. Playing sports meant combat practice. Hiking meant learning to move through dangerous territory. Even swimming meant learning to survive in hostile environments. Perhaps we could discuss trade agreements, he said. Yes, Hickston said. He was still looking at the photos with worry. We have prepared a list of items we would like to purchase from Earth. Military supplies, of course. He handed over a data pad. The list made no sense. They wanted camping gear, sports equipment, and cooking tools. Things that had nothing to do with war. Portable shelters that can resist storm damage, Hickston read. Personal heating devices that work in extreme cold. Cutting tools that can slice through bone. Those are tents, camp stoves, and kitchen knives, Soonja said. Military equipment, Hickston corrected. We have heard about human survival technology. Your people can live anywhere. Desert worlds, ice worlds, even poison atmospheres. We want to learn these skills. We're just adaptable, Tejo said. Exactly, Hickston said. Dangerous adaptation skills, perfect for military operations. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. Every human activity the aliens asked about turned into a discussion of warfare. Music was psychological conditioning. Art was morale building. Cooking was chemical warfare training. When the meeting ended, the aliens escorted the humans back to their ship. They were polite but kept their distance. Several of them were taking photos of the humans with hidden cameras. They think we're monsters, Soonja said once they were back on their ship. They think we're useful monsters, Tejo corrected. That might be worse. Byung-wook was reading reports on his security tablet. Sir, you need to see this. The station's information network is going crazy. There are messages going out to every world in the galaxy. The messages were all the same. The humans had arrived. They were exactly as dangerous as the stories said. Maybe more dangerous. They climbed mountains for fun. They let their children play on military training equipment. They lived on a world that was trying to kill them every day, and they liked it. One message stood out. It came from a military commander on a distant world. If the Council ever decides to fight the humans, we surrender now. Any species that considers storms to be entertainment is not a species we want as enemies. Soonja looked out the window at the space station. Thousands of aliens lived there. All of them were now afraid of 3 humans who had done nothing but show some vacation photos. What happens when they find out about our actual military? She asked. Tejo did not answer. He was thinking about the files back on Earth. Classified. Reports about human military history. Wars that had lasted decades. Weapons that could destroy entire cities. Soldiers who had fought in conditions that would kill most aliens in minutes. The galaxy feared humans based on vacation photos and playground equipment. They had no idea what humans were really capable of. The emergency meeting lasted 18 hours. Representatives from 47 different worlds sat around the council table. All of them looked scared. The holographic display in the center showed the same terrible news over and over again. 12. Star systems had fallen to the Skarav horde in 3 months. Admiral Thakox of the Centauri fleet stood next to the display. His blue skin looked pale under the lights. The Skarav have never moved this fast before, he said. Their new tactics are working. Our defenses cannot stop them. The hologram showed the latest battle. Skarav ships moved like a black cloud through space. They destroyed everything in their path. Space stations, defense platforms, entire fleets. Nothing could slow them down. How many ships do we have left? Asked Council Singer Hickston. Less than half, Thakox said. The Kepler defense fleet was destroyed yesterday. The Vega system will fall within a week. After that, they can attack the inner worlds. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The Skarav horde had been raiding the outer worlds for centuries, but they had never been strong enough to threaten the core systems. Now they were winning. We need help, said the Nerid representative. The human delegation. They offered military assistance. The Death Worlders? Hickston made a worried sound. Are we that desperate? Yes, Thakox said simply. We are. The message to Earth was sent immediately. The Galactic Council requested urgent military aid. They expected Earth to respond with their best warriors, the humans that matched all the terrifying stories. Young soldiers with advanced weapons and no fear of death. 3 days later, a human transport ship arrived at Harmony Prime Station. Admiral Thakox waited at the docking bay with his staff. Security teams stood ready. Medical teams prepared for anything. The humans were coming to save them, but everyone was still afraid. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The first human to step out was an old man with gray hair. He walked slowly and used a metal cane to support himself. Behind him came more humans. Old humans. Most of them had gray or white hair. Some moved carefully like their bones hurt. Others had machines that helped them walk. Where are the warriors? Thakox whispered to his aide. An old woman in a simple blue uniform stepped forward. She had kind eyes and spoke in a gentle voice. I am Colonel Mi-Young Choi, Earth Defense Forces, retired. This is our military assistance team. Thakox looked past her at the other humans. He counted 847 people getting off the transport ship. The youngest looked to be at least 50 years old. Many were clearly over 70. Some needed help walking. Others carried medical equipment. There has been a mistake, Thakox said. We requested military assistance. Warriors, soldiers, an old man with a walking cane smiled at him. I am Hyun Soo Kang, retired Army Corps of Engineers. Served for 35 years. He pointed at the others. We are all soldiers, just older soldiers. But you are. Thakox stopped. He did not want to be rude. Old, said another human. This one sat in a wheeled chair but had sharp, intelligent eyes. I am Dongmin Yu, former Air Force pilot. I have been flying combat missions longer than most of your officers have been alive. Thakox felt his heart sink. Earth had sent them. Invalids. Elderly humans who could barely walk. This was not the military aid they needed, this was an insult. Perhaps there are more ships coming? He asked hopefully. This is everyone, Mi-Young said. 847 veterans with a combined service time of over 20,000 years. We came as soon as we got your message. The briefing room was embarrassing. The human veterans sat quietly while Thakox explained the military situation. He tried to be patient, but these old humans could not possibly understand modern space warfare. The Skarav use swarm tactics, he said. Hundreds of small ships that attack from all directions. Our computer systems cannot track them all. By the time we respond, they have already damaged our major vessels. Hyun-Soo raised his hand slowly. May I ask a question? Of course, Thakox said with forced politeness. How long do these attacks usually last? The Skarav prefer quick strikes, usually 6 to 8 hours before they withdraw. Hyun-Soo nodded. And your defensive positions? Are they fixed installations? Yes, fortress, Worlds, battle stations, defended asteroid bases, we build them strong and hold them. Several of the old humans exchanged looks. Dongmin made a note on a datapad. Mi Young asked to see the tactical displays. The fortress at Rigel 7, she said, looking at the hologram. How long did it take the Skarav to capture it? 6 hours, Thakok said proudly. It was one of our strongest positions. The fact that it lasted so long shows how well built it was. Hyun-Soo studied the display more closely. He pointed at different parts of the fortress with his cane. I see the problem. Your strong points are too far apart. No overlapping fields. A fire. The power generators are exposed on the outside. Your ammunition storage is in the center where damage will cause secondary explosions. Those generators power our shields, Thakok said. They have to be outside. No, they do not, said another old human. This was Young Hee Lim, a small woman who looked like somebody's grandmother. You can run power cables through protected tunnels. We did that in the Taejin Valley, kept our generators safe for 3 months while everything above ground got destroyed. Thakox felt frustrated. These humans did not understand. This is space combat, not ground warfare. Combat is combat, Dongmin said from his wheelchair. The environment changes, the principles stay the same. The Skarav swarm your positions because you give them clear targets. Your formations are too rigid. Your response time is too slow. We have the most advanced computer systems in the galaxy, Thakox said. Computers are not pilots, Dongmin replied. I have seen the recordings of your battles. Your ships move, like they are following a program. Very predictable. The Skarav learn your patterns and exploit them. An aide whispered something in Thakox's ear. The admiral nodded and stood up. We appreciate your advice, he said carefully. But we have real battles to fight. Perhaps you would be more comfortable in the civilian areas of the station. The old humans looked at each other. Some smiled, others shook their heads. Admiral, Mi Young said politely, we did not come here to hide. We came here to help you win a war. With respect, Colonel, Thakok said, war has changed since your time. This is not whatever small conflicts you fought on Earth. Mi Young was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke in a voice that was still gentle but somehow different, stronger. Admiral, I spent 12 years in the Congo medical crisis. We treated over 40,000 casualties while under constant enemy fire. I have performed surgery in bunkers while artillery shells exploded overhead. I have kept soldiers alive with equipment that was held together with tape and prayers. She stood up slowly. Seokjin, over there ran supply lines through the Afghan mountains for 8 years. He kept 3 divisions fed and armed while enemy forces controlled the roads during the day. Young Hee Lim built defensive positions that held for 6 months against superior numbers. The room was very quiet now. Dongmin Yu learned to fly in Earth's atmosphere. Do you know what that means? Gravity that will crush you if you make a mistake. Weather that changes every few minutes. Air so thick that small errors become fatal instantly. He did this while people on the ground tried to shoot him down with rockets. Thakox felt something change in the air. The old humans were sitting straighter. Their eyes looked different, sharper. These are not small conflicts, Admiral, Mi Young continued. These are the wars that taught us how to fight, how to win, how to survive when everything goes wrong. Hyun-Soo tapped his cane on the floor. You want to know about the Rigel 7 fortress? I can tell you exactly how the Skarav took it. They hit your power generators first. When your shields failed, they attacked your communication arrays. When you could not coordinate your defenses, they hit your weapon positions one by one. Finally, they breached your main hull and fought room to room until you surrendered. Thakok stared at him. How do you know all that? Because I have done the same thing, Hyun-Soo said simply. 40 years ago, against an enemy that was better armed and better prepared than the Skarav. It took us 3 days instead of 6 hours, but the method was the same. Young Hee spoke up. The difference is that we learned how to defend against it, how to make every room a fortress, how to make every corridor cost the enemy blood, how to keep fighting even when the main defenses fall. These tactics are from ground warfare, Thakok said weakly. Space is just another environment, Dongmin said. The basic rules do not change. You have to think faster than your enemy. You have to be willing to take calculated risks. Most importantly, you have to understand that sometimes the best defense is not sitting still and hoping your walls hold. Mi Young sat back down. We did not come here to replace your people, Admiral. We came here to teach them, to share what we learned from fighting wars you cannot imagine. The meeting ended in uncomfortable silence. Thacox dismissed the humans and called an emergency conference with his senior staff. They are too old, he said. Half of them can barely walk. How can they help us fight a space war? His aide, a young Centauri officer, had been listening to the conversation. Sir, I looked up their service records, the data Earth sent with their ship. The human veterans were assigned to Sector 7. It was the safest area of the defense zone, far from the main battle lines. Admiral Thacox wanted them out of the way where they could not cause problems. Let the old humans feel useful, he told his staff. Give them some supply duties or maintenance work. Just keep them away from real combat operations. But the veterans did not do what they were told. Within 6 hours of arriving at Sector 7, Mi Young Choi had completely reorganized the medical facilities. She walked through the hospital ship with a data pad, making notes about everything. That was wrong. Your trauma bays are too small, she told the chief medical officer, a tall alien with 4 arms. You can only treat 2 critical patients at a time. When casualties start coming in, you will have people dying in the hallways. We follow standard galactic medical protocols, the doctor said defensively. Your protocols assume light casualties, Mi Young replied. In real combat, you get waves of wounded, dozens at a time. You need triage areas, multiple surgical teams, and supply lines that can handle massive demand. She showed him diagrams on her datapad, simple changes that would triple their capacity, better organization of equipment, different traffic flow patterns, backup systems for when the main hospital took damage. This is just basic field medicine, she said. Things we learned in the first week of medical training. The alien doctor was confused. Your medical training includes combat scenarios? All of our medical training includes combat scenarios, Mi Young said. On Earth, doctors have to be ready for anything. Natural disasters, industrial accidents, wars, mass casualties are normal for us. Meanwhile, Dongmin Yu was causing problems in the fighter pilot ready room. He had arrived in his wheelchair and asked to observe their training exercises. The young pilots thought it was funny. An old human in a wheelchair wanted to watch them fly. The training exercise was a standard intercept mission. 12 alien fighters against a simulated Scarab attack formation. The computer generated enemy ships that moved in predictable patterns. Stop, Dongmin said halfway through the exercise. The pilots looked confused. Sir? Reset the simulation. This time I want you to ignore your flight computers. Turn off your automatic navigation. Fly manual control only. That is not safe, the squadron leader said. The computers prevent collisions. They calculate optimal attack vectors. Without them, we might crash into each other. Dongmin smiled. Exactly. Your computers make you predictable. The Scarab have been studying your flight patterns for months. They know exactly what your ships will do in any situation. But manual control is inefficient, another pilot argued. Inefficient and unpredictable, Dongmin corrected. In combat, unpredictable is more important than efficient. He convinced them to try it once. The pilots flew without computer assistance. At first, they were clumsy and slow, but after 30 minutes something changed. They started improvising, making sudden turns that no computer would calculate, flying in formations that broke every rule. Now run the simulation again, Dongmin said. This time the alien pilots destroyed the simulated Scarab force in half the time. Their random movements confused the enemy AI. Their unexpected attacks came from angles the Scarab simulation could not predict. This is how we learned to fly on Earth, Dongmin explained. In an atmosphere full of weather and wind and gravity that changes every second, our computers help us, but they do not think for us. Across the sector, other veterans were making similar changes. Seok Jin-oh had taken over the supply depot. The young logistics officers thought he was just an old man who wanted to organize storage rooms. Instead, he rebuilt their entire distribution system. You have 3 days of ammunition stored at the front lines, he told them. What happens when the Skarav cut your supply ships? We have backup depots, they said, all in predictable locations. Seok Jin replied. All easy targets. The Skarav hit your supplies first, then attack when you cannot fight back. He showed them how to build hidden supply caches, how to move equipment without showing patterns the enemy could detect, how to keep fighting when the main supply lines were broken. In the Mekong campaign, we kept an entire division supplied for 4 months through enemy territory, he said. The secret is not having one big supply line. The secret is having 50 small ones. Young Hee Lim was working with the engineering teams. The aliens thought she was a harmless old woman who wanted to help with construction projects. They gave her blueprints for new defensive positions and expected her to suggest small improvements. Instead, she redesigned everything. Your bunkers are too big, she told the chief engineer. Big targets are easy targets. You need small hidden positions that can support each other. Small bunkers cannot hold enough people, the engineer protested. You do not need to hold a lot of people, Young Hee said patiently. You need to hold the right people in the right places. One person with a good position can stop 100 attackers, but 100 people in a bad position will all die together. She drew new plans on her datapad. Tiny fighting positions connected by underground tunnels, hidden weapon caches that could be reached from multiple directions, fake positions that would draw enemy fire away from real defenses. This is not how modern warfare works, the engineer said. This is exactly how modern warfare works, Young Hee replied. The weapons change, the tactics stay the same. Make yourself hard to find, make yourself expensive to kill, make the enemy pay for every meter they advance. The changes started small, but word spread quickly through the defense fleet. The human veterans were not just giving advice, they were solving problems that had troubled the galactic military for decades. Eun Nam, a quiet woman who had worked in intelligence, was assigned to communications. The aliens thought she would help with translating human messages. Instead, she started analyzing Skarav communications. They use the same radio frequencies for everything, she told the intelligence staff. Command signals, ship-to-ship coordination, even personal messages. It all goes through the same network. We know this, the intelligence chief said, but we cannot break their encryption codes. You do not need to break their codes, Yoon Jung. First, you just need to jam their communications at the right moment, blind them when they are most vulnerable. She showed them techniques that Earth had developed during decades of electronic warfare. How to map enemy communication patterns, how to identify command ships by their signal traffic, how to disrupt entire fleets by targeting the right transmitters. We did this in the Baltic Electronic War, she explained. The enemy had better equipment, but we understood how they used it. Sometimes knowing when to attack is more important than knowing how to attack. As the week passed, reports reached Admiral Thacox about the strange things happening in Sector 7. His officers told him about medical facilities that were being rebuilt, fighter pilots who were learning to fly without computers, supply lines that were being completely reorganized. Are the humans causing problems? He asked. No, sir, his aide replied. They are solving problems. Efficiency in Sector 7 has improved by 40%. Casualty survival rates are up. Fighter performance is better than we have ever measured. Thacox was puzzled. How are they doing this? They say these are basic military procedures, sir. Things that any competent force should know. That evening, Thacox visited Sector 7 himself. He found Hyun Soo Kang in the main operations center, looking at tactical displays, with a group of young officers. The Skarav will attack here next, Hyun Soo was saying, pointing at a star system on the map. Not because it is strategically important, but because you expect them to attack somewhere else. How can you be sure? One officer asked. Because they have been using the same pattern for 3 months, Hyun Soo replied. Attack where defenses are light. Avoid where defenses are strong. But they are not avoiding strong defenses anymore. They are creating weak defenses by forcing you to guess wrong. He drew lines on the map with his finger. They attack here to make you think they want this system. You move your fleets to defend it. Then they attack the real target while your ships are out of position. The young officers stared at the map. The pattern was suddenly obvious. This is just basic deception tactics, Yunsu said. The enemy shows you what they want you to see. You have to look at what they are really doing. Thacox stepped forward. Mr. Kang, how long did it take you to figure this out? About 10 minutes after I saw their attack records, Yunsu replied. It is the same pattern we used in the Korean Peninsula War. The enemy did exactly what we are doing now, reacted to threats instead of anticipating them. And how did that war end? Hyunsu smiled. We won. But it took 3 years because we had to learn from our mistakes. You do not have 3 years. Thacox looked around the operations center. Young aliens were working next to old humans, learning from them, asking questions, getting answers that made sense. Mr. Kang, he said quietly, what would you do if you were commanding this defense? Hyunsu thought for a moment. I would stop reacting to the Skurav. I would make them react to us, force them to attack where we want them to attack, then destroy them when they arrive. How? Give them a target they cannot resist, something so valuable that they have to attack it immediately, then make sure that target is a trap. The plan was simple, but Admiral Thacox still felt nervous. In 3 hours, the largest Skarav fleet ever assembled would arrive at Kepler Station. According to every computer model, the station would fall within 6 hours. But the human veterans had promised something different. Are you sure about this? Thacox asked Hyunsu Kang for the 10th time. The old engineer smiled and tapped his walking cane against the floor. Admiral, I have been in situations like this before. The enemy thinks they know what will happen. That is their weakness. Kepler Station looked exactly like what the Skurav expected. A heavily defended fortress with powerful shields and big weapons, the kind of target they had been attacking for months. What they could not see were the changes the veterans had made. Jae-sung Park stood in the main corridor of the station. He was a small man, almost 70 years old, with gray hair and gentle eyes. But for 40 years, he had been a tunnel fighter in the urban wars of Earth. He knew how to turn buildings into death traps. Remember, he told the station security team, let them board. Do not try to stop them at the airlocks. We want them inside. The young security officers looked scared. Everything they had learned said to stop boarders at the outer hull. Keep them from getting inside. This feels wrong, one of them said. It should feel wrong, Jae-sung replied. That is why. It will work. The Skarav expect us to fight at the airlocks. They are prepared for that. They are not prepared for what we are really going to do. In the communication center, Eun Jung-nam sat at a console surrounded by alien technicians. She looked like somebody's grandmother, but her fingers moved across the controls with deadly precision. Skarav fleet entering communication range. 1, technician reported. Perfect, Yoon Jung said. Start recording everything. I want to map their entire command structure before they attack. For 30 minutes, she listened to Skarav radio traffic. She could not understand their language, but she did not need to. She was listening to patterns. Which ships talked to which other ships, who gave orders and who received them, where the commanders were located. Found them, she said finally. 3 command ships, the one in the center is Fleet Command. The other 2 are Wing Commanders. She marked their positions on the tactical display. When the fighting starts, we take out these 3 ships first, cut off the head, and the body dies. Soo-jin Lee was already in position. At 72 years old, she moved slowly and needed help climbing stairs. But her eyes were still sharp and her hands were still steady. For 50 years, she had been one of Earth's deadliest snipers. The position she had chosen looked impossible. A maintenance shaft in the outer hull of the station. No gravity, no atmosphere. Barely enough room for one person. The alien engineers had said it could not be done. Nobody can shoot accurately from there, they had insisted. The target distance is too far. The angle is too difficult. You would need impossible luck to hit anything. Soo-jin had just smiled. Luck has nothing to do with it. Now she floated in the cramped space, watching the Skarov fleet approach through her rifle scope. The weapon was modified alien technology, but the principles were the same as every rifle she had ever used. Pointed at the target. Control your breathing. Squeeze the trigger smoothly. Skarov fleet arriving in attack formation, came the radio report. All stations ready, Admiral Thacox announced from the command center. The Skarov attack began exactly as predicted. Hundreds of small ships swarmed toward the station. Their larger vessels hung back, directing the assault. It was the same pattern they had used to destroy 12 other systems, but this time something was different. The station's shields failed after only 15 minutes, much faster than normal. The Skarov commanders were pleased. This would be easier than expected. Begin boarding operations, the Skarov fleet commander ordered. Dozens of boarding pods slammed into the station's hull. Skarov warriors poured through the airlocks, expecting to fight desperate defenders at every entrance. Instead, they found empty corridors and open doors. Too easy, one Skarov warrior reported. The humans are not fighting. That was exactly what Jae-sung Park wanted them to think. The Skarov moved deeper into the station, searching for resistance. They found the main power core and sent a team to destroy it. They located the command center and prepared to capture it. Everything was going according to their plan. Now, Jae-sung whispered into his radio. The explosion started small. Hidden charges in the walls and floors. Not enough to destroy the station, but enough to collapse corridors, to block escape routes, to trap the boarding parties in small groups. What is happening? The Skarov commander demanded. Before anyone could answer, the real attack began. Soo-jin Lee had been waiting for this moment. Through her scope, she could see the Skarov command ship clearly. The bridge was visible through its main window. 3 figures stood around a central control console. She fired once. The bullet was a modified plasma round, designed for space combat. It traveled 3 kilometers in less than a second and punched through the command ship's bridge window. The 3 Skarov commanders died instantly. Primary command ship neutralized, Soo-jin reported calmly. The Skarov fleet immediately began to lose coordination. Ships stopped following the battle plan. Wing commanders tried to take control, but they did not know what the overall strategy was supposed to be. Yoon Jung-nam was ready for this. Jamming all Skarov command frequencies, she announced. The electromagnetic pulse she had prepared blanketed the entire battle area. Skarov ships could no longer talk to each other. Boarding parties lost contact with their fleet. Individual commanders had to make decisions without knowing what anyone else was doing. Inside the station, the real battle was just beginning. The Skarov boarding parties found themselves trapped in maze of collapsed corridors and sealed compartments. Every time they tried to advance, human defenders appeared from hidden positions. Not young soldiers, but old veterans who knew exactly how to fight in confined spaces. Jae-sung Park had turned the station into a giant trap. Every room was designed to channel attackers into kill zones. Every corridor had multiple choke points, where a few defenders could stop dozens of attackers. Section 7 is clear, one veteran reported. Section 12 secured, came another report. The Skarov had expected to fight their way to the station's vital systems. Instead, they were fighting for their lives in small groups, cut off from support and surrounded by enemies who knew the terrain perfectly. Outside the station, the space battle was turning into a disaster for the Skarov. Without central coordination, their ships were attacking randomly. Some tried to retreat. Others continued the assault. Many collided with each other in the confusion. Dongmin-yu led the counterattack. Flying a modified alien fighter, he moved through the Skarov formation. Like a hunter among prey, his tactics made no sense to their computer models. He flew too close to asteroids, made turns that should have been impossible, attacked from angles that no sane pilot would attempt. Human fighter approaching from planetary shadow, a Skarov, pilot reported. Impossible flight path, cannot intercept. All fighters converge on the human, came the response. But by the time they turned to attack, Dongmin was already somewhere else. He had learned to fly in Earth's chaotic atmosphere, where wind and weather changed every second. This calm vacuum, of space was easy compared to flying through a thunderstorm while people shot missiles at you. One by one, Skarov ships began to explode. Not from overwhelming firepower, but from precise attacks on their weak points. The veterans had studied Skarov ship designs and found their vulnerabilities. Power couplings that could be severed with single shots. Weapon systems that failed when hit in specific locations. How are they doing this? The surviving Skarov wing commander demanded. The humans are not fighting like the computer models predicted, his aide replied. They are using tactics we have never seen before. Impossible. We have fought every species in this galaxy. We know all their tactics, but the aide was right. The Skarov had never fought humans before. They had never faced enemies who had learned warfare on a world where everything was trying to kill everything else. They had never encountered soldiers who had been fighting for 50 years and had survived by being smarter than their enemies. The battle lasted 4 hours instead of the predicted 6, but it was not the station that fell. When the last Skarov ship retreated, Admiral Thakox could hardly believe the reports. Not only had they won decisively. The Skarov fleet had been destroyed. Their boarding parties were all dead or captured. The station had barely taken any damage. How many casualties, he asked. 17 wounded, came the report. No fatalities. Thakox stared at the numbers. In previous battles, they had lost thousands of people. This time they had defeated the largest Skarov attack in history and lost nobody. Sir, his aide said, quietly, there is something else. We are receiving surrender offers from Skarov commanders throughout the sector. Word of this battle has spread. They do not want to fight the humans anymore. In the station's medical bay, Mi Young Choi was treating the wounded Skarov prisoners. Most of them were in shock. They kept asking the same questions over and over. How did you know where we would attack? How did you turn our own tactics against us? Why did your old warriors fight better than our young ones? The message reached Skarov High Command 3 days after the battle at Kepler Station. War Chief Grakthul read the report twice before he believed it. His greatest fleet had been destroyed by a handful of old humans. How many human warriors were at the station? He asked his intelligence officer. Less than 50, War Chief. Most of them appeared to be elderly invalids. Grakthul crushed the data tablet in his massive claws. For 300 years, the Skarov horde had conquered everything in their path. They were the greatest warriors in the galaxy, but 50 old humans had made them look like children. Bring me the prisoner recordings, he growled. The holographic display showed interviews with captured Skarov soldiers. All of them told the same impossible story. The humans had known exactly what the Skarov would do before they did it. They had turned the Skarov's own tactics against them. They had fought, like demons in the corridors of the station. The old female treated our wounds, one prisoner said. She spoke to us gently while she worked, but her eyes had seen too much death, too much war. She was kind to us, but we could feel how dangerous she was. Another prisoner described the human sniper. One shot from an impossible position. She killed our commanders and disappeared like smoke. We searched for her for hours, never found her. But the story that troubled Grakthul the most came from a young Skarov warrior who had fought in the station corridors. The human defenders were not afraid of us, the warrior said. They should have been terrified. We are Skarov, we are death incarnate. But these old humans looked at us like we were just another problem to solve, like they had seen worse things than us. Grakthul turned off the recording. He had been war chief for 60 years. He had conquered star systems and destroyed entire fleets, but he had never faced an enemy like this. Send a message to the human fleet, he ordered. I want to speak with their greatest warrior. The message was transmitted across the galaxy. War Chief Grakthul of the Skarov Horde challenged the strongest human to single combat. Winner takes all. If the human won, the Skarov would surrender completely. If Grakthul won, the humans would withdraw from the war. Admiral Thakox received the message with confusion. Who will accept this challenge, he asked. We need our best fighter. Hyun Soo Kang smiled and tapped his walking cane. The Skarov expect us to send our youngest, strongest warrior. That is what they would do. So who do we send? We send exactly what they do not expect. 2 days later, a small human transport ship arrived at the neutral meeting point. Representatives from dozens of alien species had come to witness the historic challenge. Everyone wanted to see what kind of monster the humans would send to fight the legendary war chief. The airlock opened and an old man stepped out. Gildong Choi was 82 years old. He moved slowly and needed help walking down the ramp. His hair was completely white and his hands shook slightly. He wore simple clothes and carried no weapons. "Where is the human warrior?" War Chief Grakthul demanded. "I am Gildong Choi," the old man said in a quiet voice. "I accept your challenge." Grakthul was 3 meters tall and covered in natural armor plating. His claws could cut through steel. His muscles had been enhanced by a lifetime of combat. He looked down at the tiny old human and felt insulted. "This is a joke," he said. "I challenged your greatest warrior, not your weakest civilian." Gildong smiled gently. "I am both." The fighting arena was a simple circle marked on the floor of the space station. No weapons allowed, no armor, just 2 fighters and their skills. Grakthul had expected this to last a few seconds. One blow from his massive claws would end the fight. He had killed hundreds of enemies in single combat. "Begin!" announced the referee. Grakthul charged forward with a roar that shook the station walls. His claws swept down toward the old human with enough force to cut him in half. Gildong was not there. The old man had moved aside with a simple step. Nothing fancy, nothing dramatic. Just a small movement that put him exactly where Grakthul's attack could not reach him. Grakthul spun around, confused. The human had barely seemed to move, but somehow he had avoided a strike that should have been impossible to dodge. "How?" Grakthul snarled. 60 years of practice," Gildong replied calmly. Grakthul attacked again. This time he used a combination of strikes, trying to trap the human with multiple angles of attack. But Gildong flowed around the claws like water around rocks. Every strike missed by the smallest possible margin. The watching aliens gasped. They had never seen anything like this. The massive Skarav war chief was attacking with devastating force, but the tiny human made it look effortless to avoid. "Stand." "Still and fight," Grakthul roared in frustration. "You are fighting," Gildong said. "I am just not letting you hit me." For 10 minutes, Grakthul attacked with increasing desperation. He used every technique he had learned in 3 centuries of combat. Nothing worked. The old human seemed to know where every attack was going before it started. Finally, Gildong decided the demonstration had lasted long enough. As Grakthul lunged forward with another massive swing, Gildong stepped inside the attack instead of away from it. His fist, moving with the precision of decades of training, struck Grakthul in exactly the right spot. The war chief collapsed instantly, not dead, but completely unconscious. The fight was over. The arena fell silent. The greatest warrior in Skarav history had been defeated by an 82-year-old human who barely came up to his waist. "How is this possible?" whispered an alien observer. Myung-Suk Han, the human war correspondent, spoke into her recording device. "Gildong Choi learned to fight on Earth 60 years ago. He has been teaching martial arts for longer than most. Species have had space travel. The war chief was strong and fast, but Gildong knew exactly how strong and fast he was going to be. When Grakthul woke up, he found Gildong sitting beside him with a cup of tea. "You fought well," the old human said kindly. "Your technique is very good, but you rely too much on strength and not enough on timing." "You defeated me," Grakthul said slowly. "The Skarav horde will surrender as promised." "That is not necessary," Gildong replied. "We do not want to conquer you. We just want you to stop conquering everyone else." "But the terms of the challenge—" "The terms were that the winner decides what happens next," Gildong said. "I decide that the Skarav can keep their territory and their freedom. But no more raids. No more attacks on peaceful worlds. Find something better to do with your lives." Grakthul stared at him. "You spare us? I defeat you," Gildong corrected. "There is a difference." The news of the Skarav surrender spread across the galaxy in hours. But the real changes took longer to develop. Representatives from dozens of worlds arrived at human space stations, asking for military advisors. Not young soldiers, but experienced veterans who could teach them how to really fight. Wu Jin-an, the former military chaplain, found himself counseling alien officers who were struggling with the psychological effects of combat. His calm voice and understanding manner helped them deal with trauma they had never experienced before. War changes people, he told a young Centauri pilot who had survived the Battle of Kepler Station. The important thing is not to let it destroy the good parts of who you are. How do you handle it? The pilot asked. By remembering that we fight to protect things we love, not because we enjoy fighting. Wu Jin replied. The day you start enjoying it is the day you become the enemy. Trade agreements followed the military cooperation. The aliens discovered that humans made excellent equipment for surviving in harsh environments. Tools that could work in any climate. Vehicles that could handle rough terrain. Medical supplies that could treat injuries other species had never encountered. Your camping gear is more advanced than our military equipment, one alien trader admitted. We do not think of it as military equipment, Soonja Park replied. We think of it as things you need to survive a weekend in the mountains. But the most important change was in how the galaxy viewed conflict itself. For centuries, galactic wars had been fought according to predictable patterns. Formal battles between large fleets, rigid tactics that everyone understood. Victory went to whoever had the most ships or the biggest weapons. The humans had shown them something different. They had proven that experience and adaptability could defeat superior numbers. That tactics mattered more than technology. That sometimes the best way to win a war was to understand your enemy better than they understood themselves. We have been fighting like children playing games, Admiral Thacox admitted to his staff. The humans showed us what real warfare looks like. Tae-ho Kim, now serving as Earth's permanent ambassador to the Galactic Council, received a constant stream of requests for human military advisors, but he was careful about which requests he approved. We will help you defend yourselves, he told each delegation. We will not help you attack others. There is a difference. Some species complained about this policy. They wanted human military, technology and tactics for conquest, not defense. The humans are being hypocritical, one ambassador argued. They have fought many wars on their own world. Yes, Tae-ho replied calmly. That is exactly why we know the difference between necessary wars and unnecessary ones. We have seen what war costs. We do not want others to pay that price unless they absolutely have to.